All right, so we're diving into some fascinating stuff today. Venus retrograde? Anyone.
Ooh, yeah. I see that coming up on March 1st, actually. Should be an interesting time.
It is. And we've got this this really in-depth astrological forecast for that date specifically. I always find these things so intriguing, even though, full disclosure, I'm no astrology expert or anything.
You don't need to be.
Yeah.
I think anyone can take something away from this, honestly, even if you aren't super into astrology or anything like that.
Right.
Because it really just kind of boils down to relationships and finances and, some of the bigger things in life that I think we can all relate to.
Totally. And actually, the forecast kind of frames Venus retrograde like a cosmic tech-up, like a chance to really look at these areas of our lives.
I like that. I mean, in a way, isn't it? This whole idea of a planet appearing to move backwards.
Yeah, it does make you think, right?
Yeah, it's forcing us to slow down, reassess,
Exactly. And speaking of reassessing, this forecast really digs into past relationships.
Oh, the past.
I know, right? Sometimes I'd rather just leave those in the past, to be honest. But the forecast emphasizes that it's not about dwelling on the negative. It's more about understanding patterns and how they've shaped us, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah, well, and it is interesting because this forecast specifically talks about the Aries moon sextile Pluto aspect, and that in particular it's saying can make people want to kind of confront things that have been hidden, maybe some things that have been, swept under the rug in relationships.
So it's kind of like Venus retrograde, but for our emotional baggage.
In a way, yeah, but it's not like it's gonna magically unearth everything.
Right.
It's more like if you are kind of in that headspace already, it might make you, kind of want to deal with some of those issues head on.
Interesting. So it's not just about feeling all those old feelings again, but actually using them to, I don't know, maybe understand ourselves better.
Yeah. What can you learn from those past experiences? How can those past experiences help you grow, essentially?
Okay, that's actually a pretty cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
But it's not all about the past, right? Because this forecast also talks about taking a look at our current relationships too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it talks a lot about shared values, ethics, making sure that your relationships are actually built on that solid foundation. And I think, that's something that's always important, but it might be especially important during this Venus retrograde time.
I see what you mean. Like those little things that normally wouldn't bother you might suddenly feel like a huge deal. So is it actually saying we should break up with everyone who doesn't perfectly align with our values?
Oh, no.
Okay, good.
It's not about being that extreme. It's more about just being mindful and aware of it.
Right.
Do you share the same values with this person? Do you feel like you're on the same page ethically?
Right. Okay. So it's more like a check-in. Like, are your needs actually being met in this relationship?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. But, sometimes things come up and you can't really wait for Venus retrograde to be over to make a decision. What about big financial decisions?
Right.
Is it really that bad to say sign a contract or something during this time?
Well, the forecast is pretty clear on that. It actually advises against any major decisions, not just about love, but about finances too. It even mentions appearance, so I guess hold off on that drastic haircut.
Oh, interesting.
It's not like, again, the world's going to end if you do.
Right.
But it is saying maybe, hold off if you can, just give yourself a little bit of extra time to think things through.
Okay, so sleep on those big decisions. Got it.
Yeah.
But can we circle back to the astrology stuff for a sec?
Sure.
What about those specific astrological aspects you mentioned earlier? What was it? Aries moon conjunct Venus?
Yeah, and then there's also Aries moon sextile Jupiter.
Right. So how do those tie into all of this?
Well, those specifically are kind of pointing towards, more of that emotional sensitivity that I was talking about, the focus on those needs.
Like your emotions might be a little bit heightened during this time?
Makes sense with everything else going on.
Exactly. So it's like a perfect storm for really understanding what matters to you in relationships, what truly fulfills you.
So it's not just about avoiding bad stuff, but actually making our relationships even better.
Exactly. And I think that's something that people often forget about Venus retrograde. It's not just a doom and gloom period. It's also an opportunity
to grow, to learn.
Yeah, to really transform those relationships into something even stronger and more meaningful.
I love that. So I guess to sum it all up, this upcoming Venus retrograde is like a giant cosmic pause button, a chance to look at our relationships, both past and present, with a fresh perspective.
Exactly. And to really be mindful of those big decisions, whether they're about love, money, or even just how we present ourselves to the world.
Definitely. So much to think about. And for our listeners out there, the real question is, how can you use this Venus retrograde to your advantage? Can you actually make positive change? Absolutely. It's about taking all this energy, all this introspection, and using it to create the kinds of relationships you truly want.
Food for thought for sure. And that's our deep dive on this Venus retrograde forecast. Until next time.
See you then.